Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to Idea Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out. Today, I wanted to talk about boring businesses. So, there's this woman on TikTok. Her name is Codie Sanchez. Her TikTok is at real Codie Sanchez. I'll link that in the show notes below. Her main thing is you buy boring businesses and then you build up to buy sexy businesses like football player or football teams and hockey teams and all the like things people, get a lot of clout for owning. So her thing is about you buy laundry mats or power washing companies or whatever. So she teaches people on how to invest in stuff like that. And she has one of those online communities with a membership fee for, to get into the newsletter, maybe to have Q&As and stuff like that. She kind of framed her online community as a sort of mastermind, which actually made a lot more sense to me because when I think of masterminds, I'm like, who would pay for that? Except for that you want to be in an exclusive group with a bunch of people that are investing $50,000 into a mastermind and you get to be invited to events to mingle with other people that are spending that amount of money to I network. I can understand that, but at the same time, it is a little bit. I'm just maybe not at that level to fully understand how valuable a mastermind group is. However, I get it in the way where she's giving exclusive tips and exclusive content kind of in a Patreon way. A Patreon, I guess you could think of that as like a mastermind group. There's a paywall, you're getting content, you're learning something, or sometimes it's just for entertainment, for funny stuff or to talk about, Star Trek exclusively with someone who really knows about Star Trek. There's all different reasons to be, pay into a group. But when she was talking about her particular community costs $1,500 a year, you get the newsletter and blah blah blah, these other things, things where she's giving advice, I guess, with another associate for her business. But I don't know, it just kind of clicked for me, like, what a mastermind group is or can be beyond just networking. And really, I would think a Patreon type of community is a mastermind group in some way. Overall, I wanted you to know about her and to follow her on TikTok because it just how she's using TikTok, I really kind of think it's powerful, just quick little videos. Her YouTube channel her YouTube channel is small, so it's only a little bit under 3,000 subscribers, but she's really just reposting her TikToks as YouTube short, and that's probably gaining her some, crossover for people that are still on TikTok or that are on YouTube that haven't transitioned to TikTok yet. They're probably liking her stuff on YouTube and then going and following her on TikTok. So I feel like she's doing the modern thing of, how you can use TikTok and YouTube to sell your product. And I just think I like what she's saying. I feel like it's valuable. And check her out. The other thing I wanted to talk about today was AT&T selling DirecTV. So AT&T bought DirecTV in 2015 for 49 billion, which is insane. Like who works there? Nobody said cable's dying. Nobody thought that this could be a bad idea. I can't imagine what happened there. And I think in 2015 AT&T bought a couple of businesses that were just like so obvious these things are coming out of fashion that I was just shocked, and they paid overpriced crazy. So they bought DirecTV for 49 billion and they with it came 25 billion worth of debt. I don't know if that's on top of the 49 billion. I don't know how they organized it, but quite hefty of a price tag and quite a lot of debt. And they bought it because they have a bunch of other type of companies. They were trying to roll it all into one and reduce their programming cost because they do own things like The Big Bang Theory and Friends. And I guess they were hoping to, you know, cut out the cost of purchasing shows to just kind of owning the cable system. I don't know. It just when I'm trying to figure out like what made them choose this. It really I think it seems like somebody just wasn't forward thinking on the decision making team. And yeah, it went bad. So as of 2020, DirecTV is worth only 16 billion. So in short 5 years amount of time, it went down and bad. And they tried to sell it and nobody wanted to buy it. So they tried to do an auction to sell AT&T and that or to sell DirecTV. And that was the last that I had heard about the this whole fiasco of AT&T trying to unload DirecTV, and they had an auction and no one pitched any amount of money that was actually worth considering. That's how low and uninteresting DirecTV is as a product to buy. So I was kind of curious, like, what happened? I just kind of decided to today to kind of look into it. And what they ended up doing was only selling 30% of DirecTV, and they kept ownership of 70%. So they found some company to give them $7.8 billion dollars to invest to purchase 30% of DirecTV, and they had to put in 1.8 billion cash infusion in order to buy that. Whatever that means, it lightens the load up on their books so it doesn't look like they have this like massive failure on their, ownership thing. And I'm sure it helps them. I'm guessing they couldn't just, it wasn't worth writing the whole thing off. I don't know why not just sell it totally, but they're still hanging on. So even though they sold it, technically they still own 70% of DirecTV and we'll see how it unfolds from there. But yeah, the cable television is not going to exist anymore. I kind of would think the Roku digital channels, whatever's going on over there, I do find that interesting because people are not going to want to have a Netflix account and a Hulu account and an Amazon Prime account. I think that model is slowly becoming less interesting, but people are still gonna want free TV. YouTube, being able to watch millions of shows. I haven't had TV since well before 2012. Probably I can't even think of the last time I had, like, actual TV. Uh, I yeah, my brain is just like, nope. I remember having a TV maybe in my 20s, but I never paid for cable. I just used it for maybe watching movies on or something. There's so much information on YouTube, and I'm a big learner. I will spend 8 hours a day, probably minimum, just listening to shows, listening to podcasts, learning constantly. That it's kind of like going into a library with a billion books, and you can check out any book that you want, but deciding to go to Barnes& and Noble and buy one book. I see the point in wanting to own a few books, but if you're really into book reading, you would just want the library. You would want the unlimited amount of choices, and I feel like TV content is going in that direction, so paying for stuff at all, I'm even weary about Netflix. Like, yeah, it is very popular. They have a lot of success. HBO Max, they've always created great stuff, but even that feels almost like, you might go to a blockbuster, big, huge movie stadium, I'm sorry, not a stadium, but movie theater, and you might wanna watch the new Spider-Man and stuff like that. That's fun sometimes, but if you're really into movies, you wanna go to the art house, you wanna go to the Alamo Drafthouse and have your dinner served and drink served and watch the indie film. I just feel like cable's always gonna be there or some form of television. There'll always be, you know, HBO Maxes and Disney Pluses where they're gonna make these blockbuster type things, but overall, it's definitely changing. We'll see how it unfolds, and yeah, mostly I just wanted to research the AT&T thing, see what's happening, and mark it in this episode. So hopefully you find that somewhat interesting, and thanks for hanging out. Bye.